Welcome to $2 Steak. I am your host, Aaron Varnam. We've got some good feedback on our very first episode, even though it's not officially a first episode. We were trying to kind of get our seed legs under us and kind of see what the format's going to be of this podcast. I think one of the big feedback issues that we got of the last week was that damn dog and baby. Well, folks, we do not have that damn dog or baby in this week's episode. We are recording from Casa de Varnam, my house, and I am here with Tolbert, Cookie, and Big Mike.
What goes on?
That's the same thing. People are gonna think that it's a rerun, Cookie. You gotta be a little bit more excited.
There you go, Cookie. There you go.
Thanks, Cookie. Thanks. Well, folks, as you have gathered from last week's episode, this show is a show about professional wrestling, not necessarily the ins and outs, what's going on behind the scenes, what's happening in the current affairs of professional wrestling. This is actually a show about nostalgia, boys. This is a show about professional wrestling from the eyes of a fan, not necessarily a super fan. Oh, let's just think of it as this, as a college course in wrestling appreciation.
101.
101. Today on the tie-up, our first segment of, I keep wanting to say Midnight Mayhem. That was the name of my old wrestling show. That's a plug for my old wrestling show if anybody wants to find those great YouTube clips online. So the first segment today, the tie-up. Guys, what makes a good professional wrestling match?
Oh, I would have to say the build-up, the storyline, all the promos going on.
A little context.
Yeah, a little context,
So you guys are saying that maybe that is more important than the match itself? Or do you think that the match...
I wouldn't say it's more important than the match itself. It definitely helps. It helps get you excited about the match. It gives you a little storyline to follow. I remember when I was a kid watching these stories. You get so into it. I remember one storyline, The Undertaker goes missing.
I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, The Undertaker goes missing, and my little brother would not go to sleep for like a week and a half. Like literally had my dad checking the windows because he thought The Undertaker was literally outside in our yard, like roaming around.
Yeah, so most of the time, I'm a context guy. I want to know why is this happening, kind of thing. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but like with these matches, I was having a hard time just trying to find out like why am I going to be entertained by this? And not to plug later, but stay tuned. Context is a big thing, but it doesn't always have to be the thing. I don't know. Like I've been entertained by plenty of matches that had zero context because I had no idea what was going on.
For me, I think it's chemistry amongst the characters.
I think so too.
I think that's what makes the match really shine. Because you can have a great storyline, but if you have two people that have great chemistry, i.e. like a Rock and a Stone Cold, you're guaranteed to have a good match on Raw, SmackDown, Velocity, doesn't matter.
Oh, definitely.
Chemistry. Yeah, if two guys just know what the other's going to do. I mean, it's chemistry in anything. It's like if two people know what they're doing, they're going to produce good, whatever it is, content, entertainment, whatever it might be.
And sometimes these wrestlers just don't like each other, and they
you can definitely feel that.
Sometimes you can tell that.
You can tell. You can tell in the match.
So not necessarily the storyline leading up to it. Sometimes the story they tell in the ring kind of brings you into the fold and kind of gives you the context. You can kind of see how these guys interact with each other. You can kind of see like, ooh, he put a little bit of stank on that punch he just threw. Yeah. You can tell these guys really don't like each other.
Well, yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm like, I hope that guy gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then he gets punched in the face, and I'm very excited by it. Yeah.
And you're satisfied.
Exactly. It fulfilled me. Yes.
So some of the matches that we have today, and we'll talk about this in a little bit when we actually get to that segment. There's a lot of bad blood between some of these characters that I have assigned to you this week. And that's why some of these matches are a little bit more snug. Maybe not Tolbert's.
No.
Maybe not Tolbert's. But definitely Mike's and definitely Cookie's. So that's a little, that is a tease. That's called a tease.
Is that what they call it in the business?
No, that's what they yeah, I don't know. So what makes up a bad wrestling match?
Society.
Oh, a bad match.
I mean, I guess so. I can only speak for like the new stuff, like because I've only been watching for like the last 2 years. But like I've seen some bad matches on Monday nights, and it's basically because it's just boring. Like it's the same thing, no context. Why is this happening again? Like, give me something new.
Give you something different.
And for me, I think it's botches.
Botches, okay.
I think
okay.
botches are what like messes up a match for me because I get taken out.
You get taken out.
Yeah, so if I see
can see
someone
that.
mess up, I'm like, that wasn't supposed
So
to happen.
I'm new. I'm only 2 years in. I know what a botch is. Speak to some of our fans who aren't wrestling fans yet.
So a professional wrestling match, sometimes moves do not go as planned. And maybe the chemistry between the two professional wrestlers, the two workers per se, maybe the move didn't go off like the way they wanted. Back in ECW back in the day, you would know when something was botched because fans would start chanting, "You fucked up."
Oh yeah.
And that became a thing. And like, you know, I kind of giggled at it, you know, as a younger fan, even up until about 10 years ago. And now the more that I've watched and the more I appreciate, things like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That is going to happen in a professional wrestling match.
Oh yeah.
You never know. The best laid plans, you know, sometimes are not going to go the way that you want them.
Yeah.
In professional wrestling, it takes these two guys or two women or four or however many people are in that ring with that match. And it takes them all working together. And sometimes, you know, it's like a rugby match, a football match, anything like that. Something is not going to go the way you
definitely.
plan
Any
it.
kind of slip or anything like that.
How much do you think it comes down to like the writers and producers, things like that, saying, "Hey, we're short on ideas. Last minute, we need to put a match together. Hey, get out there and do this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes you call it in the ring. You have to call it in the ring. And you can see it sometimes, maybe with newer people, like maybe they didn't get the right kind of direction into that.
So when I was again just starting to get into professional wrestling, and I was on paternity leave. I was watching some stuff, and it came up with like this Goldberg thing.
Ugh.
And I watched this Goldberg match against, I don't know, I think it was a British guy, and it
William Regal
was terrible. And I knew it was terrible. Again, I'm not a professional wrestling fan. I'm like, I'm not entertained. This is terrible. Like, it was so freaking bad.
Was it the match against William Regal where William Regal purposely made Goldberg look like a terrible professional wrestler?
I think so. Like in the doc, it was like a documentary. He was like, they said give him 8 minutes, so I gave him 8 minutes, and Goldberg had no idea what he was doing. And it was just.
I actually really enjoy that match because you can see who the better professional wrestler is in that, and it's Steven Regal, hands down.
And Goldberg was supposed to go over, and
Right.
Goldberg's supposed to be this guy who's like just beating the shit out of these people, and like he looked like a lost child at Kmart looking for his parents.
Yeah.
I like that.
It was just so bad. He was like, "Dad, help me! I don't know what to do." And he was about
You're
to
going to
cry.
be having to put up with that very soon, Mike.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was that kid. I always got lost in the Walmarts and the Belkberries.
Yeah, I was one of those kids with a leash because I wandered off.
You had a
so
leash
much.
for real?
So
real.
I was leashed because my brother was a leasher, but this one time I was in
I'm sitting
I was
beside
in-
two leashers.
I was in Kmart and I ran down the wrong aisle, come up, tug on pants, call her mommy, not my mom.
No.
Very awkward. Still one of the most awkward things I've ever done in my life. And I was at
I've had that
no
happen
more than 5.
multiple times. Where I've had it where I hugged somebody, and I'm like, "Hey, Ma!"
Oh.
It's almost like
what's-
calling your teacher.
I was gonna
mom.
say, was it as bad as calling your teacher mom?
I've done that multiple
shame?
times. Yeah. Ooh, you're not my.
Oh no.
Well, that's
It
awkward.
was also awkward because Mike was 5'11" when he was 6.
Yeah.
Mike's
I was
a
the
big
size of
boy.
a small adult.
So back to the matter at hand. Are characters the most important part, or do you think some of the athleticism can make up for a lack of character?
So can I sit on the fence here real quick?
Yeah.
And say both? Because you can have like super athletic guys and I have no idea who they are, what they're doing. It's like when Ricochet was coming on, like, I don't know this guy, but it's entertaining.
Still not a good character, right?
Yes. But you can also have like guys who aren't wrestling as well, and they tell a great story because it's like, I don't know, that guy just smashed that dude in the face, and that was cool because I knew he was going to do it because he's a badass.
And some wrestlers just don't like their character, and
you can tell,
and they hate their everything about it. They hate their outfits, their entrance music, and then like Goldust.
I love Goldust.
He's a
Does
great
Goldust-
but when he
great
got sick,
athlete.
Does Goldust love Goldust?
I would think so. I think he's learned to appreciate it after doing it for 20 years.
More referencing when they tried to switch up his character.
Oh, God.
And he had a complete meltdown on. Was it live? Was it live television?
That was actually in WCW when he was actually a different character.
So it was before Goldust.
No, this was after Goldust.
Okay.
He had been fired by WWF, and he just starts straight shooting on everything in a promo, and it's really awkward. It's one of those moments where you're just kind of like, I don't know. I can't stop watching.
For those who don't know who Goldust is, please go Google a picture of Goldust.
Yeah.
Just so you
YouTube
can
some
see what we
matches.
see.
All right, so here we are at the very first matchup of the night. This one's going to the Greenhorn Big Mike. Big Mike, last week I assigned to you the Fantastics versus the Midnight Express. Mike, are we going to have a sequel to last week where you just shat all over my pick and told me that I should have picked something else for you and you hated it? Or do you actually enjoy this matchup that I assigned you this week?
Absolutely not. This was 12 minutes of pure entertainment. Okay.
Good!
So it opens up Midnight Express with guest star or guest somebody, Jim Cornette.
Okay, so you can tell that he is a... So Jim Cornette is their manager.
Okay, cool. So leave it there. So for those, I'm going to paint a picture. Jim Cornette opens the match. He's announcing the Midnight Express. Jim Cornette is in a red suede jacket.
Yes.
White shirt.
Yes.
Bow tie.
Yes.
Holding a tennis racket.
Yes.
Why? I don't know.
He's a good tennis star.
But
It was the 80s.
it comes back around because Jim Cornette will use that tennis racket. And so his eyes are creepy. He's got a tennis racket.
He's got glasses.
He's got dead eyes. He literally... Do you remember the Goosebump books with the
Yes.
the Muppet puppet thing? The
my
ventriloquist
God.
dummy?
Oh, yeah.
I literally
Terrifying.
thought... I was like, this guy has no soul. But he
Jim
has
Cornette!
But he has a fucking tennis racket. So let's find out what's going to happen, okay? So he introduces the Midnight Express. They come out in red sequins. They're blonde. Mullets. Aaron has something with mullets.
I have a mullet fetish, apparently.
with me. Anyway. All right, so then the Fantastics come out. They come out in blue sequins, blonde mullets.
And a bow tie. They had bow ties,
Did they have
right?
bow ties too? Okay. all right.
They had bow ties.
Well,
Yeah, actually
All right,
made,
so
sorry. Like, I actually made a note. They looked like.
Fat Chippendales?
Yes, exactly. They didn't make the cut.
So
It's like the Chris Farley thing on Saturday Night Live where Chris Farley was auditioning to become a Chippendale.
Oh, yeah. The black bow tie.
first thing I notice, not first thing, but all right, 4 dudes who look the same, beating the shit out of each other. The
Yes.
Fantastics come out here, they start beating the shit out of the Midnight Express, and I'm going, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea. And they're just, for 4 minutes, no, maybe not that much, but they're just beating the crap out of each other. It's the original red versus blue. Fuck Halo. Let's go pro wrestling, right? All right, so...
And the match hadn't even started.
No, yeah. So I made notes here. Chairs to the head, 1 minute in.
Yes.
Tables, 2 minutes in.
And he just threw the table. Like, he just threw it at him. He didn't even, like...
Was that the Jim Cornette one?
No, that was later in the
Okay,
match.
so
That's in the actual
I have
match.
a note about that too. So, yeah, 2 minutes in, tables to the head. I still remember, first time watching this, I've forgotten who was who. I don't know what's going on. It's 4 blonde dudes in mullets just beating the shit out of each other.
Phenomenal.
Very entertaining. And so, I will make a note. One of them is Beautiful Bobby.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought this up.
Beautiful Bobby Eaton. One of the most underrated yet greatest professional wrestlers of all time.
One of the best moments of all time.
Beautiful Bobby? Not beautiful.
No.
Oh, no.
Beautiful Bobby. All right, so he has the epitome of what I would classify a trashy mullet.
Oh, yeah.
It's a full-on blonde Joe Dirt mullet. It's long.
It's very long.
Past shoulder length. It's thin.
Beautiful.
Very greasy.
He did not use a lot of conditioner. Maybe too much conditioner or not enough.
And so, like, not to go on about... because Beautiful Bobby, his body type, very much like the other three guys, I would call it dad bod.
Dad bod, yeah.
All right, so they're fit. You can tell they work out a little bit, but they drink and eat to excess a bit. No abs.
No abs.
It's just dads
It's all pecs and arms.
beating the shit out of each other.
It was fantastic.
And you know what? As Cookie said, it was fantastic. I, again, highly entertained. But let me continue. So
Wait. But before we continue,
okay,
their tag team partner, Stan Lane, Beautiful Bobby's tag team partner,
Okay.
Stan Lane. Would you believe me if I told you from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina?
yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And this was like 1980, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's peak Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
If you told me that today, I'd go, I can see it. Yeah. So
Definitely from the Grand Strand.
all right, so they finally, or no, they're still. I think at this point they're still beating the crap out of each other. Stuff's going wild. Jim Cornette is hitting people with chairs while still holding his tennis racket. This man loves his fucking tennis racket.
He's got a doubles tournament right
You know
after
what?
the match.
I did make a point. So I pride myself in watching a lot of sports and being well rounded. Jim Cornette has a very weak backhand. It didn't look like it'd make it over the net, but entertaining nonetheless. So finally, we get to the match itself. There's finally only two wrestlers in the ring with a referee who looks like Weird Al Yankovic.
My note was he looked like the dad from Bobby's World. Was it? House
Yeah,
of-
yeah, okay.
Yeah, he looks like the animated dad from Bobby's
Good
World.
reference,
That's
yes.
exactly what his hair looked
I
like.
like that.
I think it was.
Forgot all
100%.
about that movie.
I honestly think it was. His first name's also Randy.
I
He
can
looks
also
like a
believe
Randy.
that.
Exactly.
He looks
Yes.
like a Randy.
From
So-
Myrtle Beach, North Carolina.
All right, so we're 3 minutes in. We're finally seeing some actual wrestling. They're sorry.
Is it Randy Anderson? Okay, is this the guy?
Yeah,
Randy
yeah,
Anderson?
yeah.
He's much younger.
I think it was Randy Pee Wee Anderson. As a child, I remember watching him every week, and he was
WCW, right?
WCW.
He was WCW referee.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're working the match. The heels are just beating the crap out of one of the faces. The heels were the Midnight Express, right? Yeah. So they're beating out one of the guys for the Fantastics. Cornette comes in with a table. Somehow, like, the Fantastics guy hits the table. My favorite part, Cornette, after the table's on the ground, just looking around and go, "Why is this table here? Who did this?
Absolutely. Chef kiss.
Why is this table in this place?"
was
It's like,
supposed
well,
to be
Jim,
there.
you just put it there and hit the guy's face with it. So yeah, 7 minutes in, guy goes to the ropes. I'm like, why? I think it was Beautiful Bobby.
Probably.
I'm like, why is this dad getting on the top of this ropes? Like, doesn't he know he's going to break a hip? But I'm thinking like frog splash, something crazy, backflip. No, it's the 80s. It's dad bods. Was it a power elbow or elbow drop?
Elbow
or something?
drop.
Yeah.
Beautiful elbow drop.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
It was great.
Phenomenal elbow.
But I literally went, holy shit, this guy's getting on the ropes. Like, I thought it was just going to be a ground and pound kind of thing. So I was pretty shocked by that. Anyway, so we fast forward through. It's only a 12-minute match, but near the end, the heels have just been antagonizing the faces the whole time, to the point where the faces are like getting mad and like kind of getting aggressive, and they're like wanting to cheat and all this sort of stuff. And so they're, long story short, they're beating up on the guy. He finally makes a tag to his partner. Ref doesn't see it. So partner's coming in, the ref's like, no, you have to get out. The partner goes, fuck this, tosses the ref out of the goddamn ring. It was amazing. Who hasn't wanted to throw a referee out of whatever the fuck they were watching, right?
So we did yesterday.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
So basketball, football, rugby, somebody wants to toss that referee out of the ring, and he does. And guess what? He pins the guys. Everybody's cheering. They think they won the title, and then the Weird Al Yankovic guy gets back in the ring, takes it all away. and very sad ending. Jim Cornette, though, still swinging the racket.
He's good on the mic, too.
Great on the mic. Jim Cornette's phenomenal.
One note, when he introduces Midnight Express, their intro is every mother's nightmare, every schoolgirl's dream.
That's so creepy.
That is very disturbing.
That's so creepy. But in 1980s, I guess it kind of fits.
The dad
right?
bod was in. That's what it was.
The dad bod is, and people hated them, right?
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of lady screams.
There
in
was
the crowd.
I couldn't tell if they were for
couldn't tell
joy
who they
or
were
for
for.
fear
Yeah,
because,
it
like,
was-
again, it was 4 dudes who looked the same just fighting each other.
Man, about 2 years ago, I went to a wrestling convention. I was filming some of the matches they had, and one of the members of the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton, he's I can't really. They're very similar looking. Like, he's one of the blonde guys with a mullet.
Yep.
Bobby Fulton had a match against Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton was in the Rock and Roll Express. Bobby Fulton, super nice guy, has not improved his stature or physique at all since then. I think it's actually gotten a little worse.
Is it regressed?
It's regressed.
I mean, once you're a dad, any bod you have is a dad bod, right? Like,
Yeah.
please,
There are no levels
appease
to
me.
this?
Let me know that.
Yeah, you're the weight that you have gained is never going away, Mike. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll use it to my advantage.
Another fun note about the Fantastics, I think Jim Ross said this during the matches, the Fantastics are not here to just dance to rock and roll and look pretty.
They're not. They're here to kick
They
your
definitely
ass.
weren't.
草も木もないジャングルに死を呼ぶ罠が待っている
All right, so the second matchup for the night. We have got... Oh, Cookie's got to unlock his phone right now. Hold on, guys.
Oh, here we go.
Cookie's matchup, Tiger Mask versus Kobayashi. Tell me a little bit about this matchup. Was it different than what I assigned to you last week when it was Dr. Death, Steve Williams, against Stan Hansen?
Absolutely. I think this match was high energy, more so than anything else. But it was a perfect blend of high energy, technical prowess, and high flying ability. It was amazing in my opinion. Started off with action, much similar to Mike's, where it's just before the bell even rings, you're getting people thrown out of the ring and their kicks thrown, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
So, if you're seeing this matchup, can you tell that it's a very big influence to some of the higher flyer wrestlers these days?
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I think a lot of the moves that I saw that Tiger Mask were utilizing, I think that's where a lot of people have gotten they got their moves from. So there's a couple of them that I saw, and one of them was a Pele kick, which is what AJ Styles uses.
Right.
And then I saw a fake 619 where he goes
Yeah,
through
yeah,
the middle
yeah,
of the
he teased
ropes.
it. He teased it.
He teased the 619. I was like, whoa, there's no way. And this is in the 80s, guys, so you have to think about that.
Early 80s. I think it was 82.
82. So he has to be the originator, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Of some of those moves.
I wouldn't say, I can't tell you for certain if he was the originator,
Yeah.
but he definitely popularized it.
That's fair. Okay.
And to the fans and to the eyes of the public. This guy was the first junior heavyweight champion for the NWA and the WWF at the same
Really?
time. He held both belts.
Wow.
And it was a very interesting thing. The character of Tiger Mask,
Yes.
the guy who plays Tiger Mask has been, like, don't quote me on this, maybe 4 people right now. They might be on Tiger Mask 5 or about to be on Tiger Mask 5. Mm-hmm. It's a rotating cast of characters. The character is the same. It's based on a Japanese manga.
Really?
And you can see the influences on people on video games like Tekken. Did you ever play Tekken growing up?
Oh, yeah, the guy with the
King.
leopard head. King, yeah.
King was very, like, that character influenced by Tiger Mask.
Did not know that. Wow.
Tiger Mask was kind of developed as a way to sell merchandise. It's almost like Star Wars. They're figuring out that they're going to get all sorts of merchandise from this one character, so they just kind of make it all over the top. His mask is badass, by the way.
Yeah, so, but towards the end, that mask starts to get a little ripped, and this is where I wanted to start talking about whether or not there was some bad blood between the two, because that looked a little real.
I said
towards
the
end of the
ref
match.
was even like, "Whoa, dude, no, hold on,
No, please, no, please. So Tiger Mask and Kobayashi, I think there was some bad blood. It's pretty neat, though. Tiger Mask is really famous for a bunch of matches, a series of matches he had with the Dynamite Kid in WWF. Okay. And that was kind of how, when he first started off as a wrestler, he really wanted to kind of learn the craft and kind of go all around the world. The promotion that he is wrestling for sent him out to America, sent him to Canada, sent him all over to kind of to learn different holds here, different holds there, different moves all over the place. He wrestled in Britain. And this guy, very well-rounded international style wrestler, comes back to Japan. Everybody loves him. Kobayashi, a very well-rounded wrestler as well. Maybe a little bit of jealousy on his part.
I could see that. I think I can definitely see that towards the end. I mean, honestly, I think Kobayashi was the type of, like the Bret Hart-esque type, where he's more of a ground and pound. We're going to keep you down so you can't fly as much, whereas Shawn Michaels, it's kind of like a Shawn Michaels Bret Hart type of rivalry, it looked like, between the two, and that's what the type of match that I kind of got as well, where you had one that looked like he wanted to fly and do a lot of that stuff, where as Kobayashi wanted to keep you down as much as possible, try and submit you. But towards the end, which is what we were just talking about, that mask starts to come into play, where we try to rip it in half.
He's untying it. He's ripping
trying
to
to
shred it. Yeah, it's like gouging his eyes. I'm like, wow, dude. I don't know if you're allowed. Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, and you see this a lot in also Lucha Libre.
Oh yeah,
you're seeing it with wrestlers whose identity is behind this mask. Their mask is all their identity.
It's sacred to them.
And you're seeing like Alberto Del Rio trying to take Rey Mysterio's mask.
Yes.
The person behind the mask maybe not as important, and it's an honor thing. Their mask is their honor.
And it's a big way to get heat.
Oh,
Definitely for the heel. So I'm sure Kobayashi didn't get too much praise for that, maybe in the back or with fans probably a lot more than anything else.
Well, people want to see. I want to see what he looks like under the mask as well, and people are curious about that.
Absolutely.
But all in all, it's a different style matchup than what I assigned last week, correct?
Absolutely. More, like I said, more high flying, and it looked like it was just two people that were in their prime, just duking it out and going back and forth. I loved it.
Some of the matches, some of the moves that they were able to pull off in that match were very interesting. You see Tiger Mask do the flip with the knees.
Yes, I saw what is called now the insult to injury is basically a backflip into like a knee drop onto the Kobayashi. Very interesting move. Looks like very hard to pull off, but he pulls it off with ease. I saw a tombstone pile driver. So you see a perfect plex. You see so many different types of maneuvers that he utilizes. And you don't really see that in movesets nowadays. I feel like it's more generic more than anything else, but he had a wide variety of moves.
And it's interesting to kind of think they didn't have tapes maybe in early 1982, or maybe it was harder to get your hands on tapes. How did some of these wrestlers kind of get these moves? How was the development of these moves? How was something sent overseas? How was an influence?
I guess it's just from travel, wouldn't it be? Like,
I would think so too.
You'd have to go from one place to another, sharing your art from one place to another. Any kind of inspirations that you got, maybe from Japan, you bring them over to the United States. That sparks some kind of creative light bulb for someone else, and they think of something else to go along with it. But
think of it like an art scene. Think of it like in the late '60s, the Haight-Ashbury area of California, where all the hippies got together, and you're getting bands like the Mamas and the Papas, the Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead, all kind of coming out of this one movement.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it as early 1980s Japanese professional wrestling
like a
influence. Yeah,
like
it was a very interesting style. And then you also have to think about the culture too. they're very highly influenced by martial arts.
Absolutely.
Martial arts in Japan is a very big thing, and they used a lot of that in that matchup.
Pull
A lot of
any
spinning
kicks either.
They
They
do
don't
not.
pull them. They're like
A lot of spinning roundhouse kicks,
There was.
kicks, and then there was a lot of different martial arts things that were involved in the match.
So maybe a professional wrestling match, taken at face value, is a little bit different than if you're breaking down the little things in a professional wrestling match. If you're thinking about the sociology behind it, maybe has a different meaning. Is that right, or are we just
That was
need to
way
go-
too deep. That was
Do
so.
we need to just go?
well, I mean,
Thankfully,
for a
our
second.
our next segment is all about a guy that gets high. So we're gonna be back on the fun train after this.
Can we rein it in a little bit?
Sorry, guys. I apparently
I will make a point though to what they were saying is like, yeah, you're watching the Tiger Mask match, and it's like very much kind of like karate and like influenced by like their like social kind of whatever they do there. Whereas like my match is like just
a bar fight.
four rednecks bar fight wrestling, and it's like both highly entertaining and both very much in their own style.
And it showed, I think, a lot. Like I said, a lot of variety, a lot of versatility between the two.
a lot of
as well.
finesse in your match cookie.
A lot
of
of
finesse, man.
yeah.
I mean, he's going off the top rope. What, 2 minutes in, if that?
Yeah.
And that back flip or front flip drop kick at the
Yes,
end. What was
yes.
that? It was crazy.
And I'm trying, and this is a good thing to bring up when I'm trying to give you guys like a kind of an overview of professional wrestling and how it is. You're going to be able to see each style, each country has its own style, each promotion has its own style, each region has its own style. Little things here and there are kind of what makes up a professional wrestling region or promotion's identity. You've got the really bloody feuds in Puerto Rico. You've got the southern back bar brawls in WCW and old NWA Jim Crockett promotions.
This was in North Carolina.
That
It
was in Greensboro.
The Coliseum.
The Coliseum. I saw Bruce Springsteen there in concert, and I was more excited about seeing the Coliseum in person because I knew Starcade 1 right here, boys. As soon as I walked in, and everybody's like, "You do know the boss is playing tonight." I'm like, I don't give a shit. Ric Flair won the NWA Heavyweight Championship here in a flair for the gold, goddammit. Sorry, Mom. Sorry for the GD.
That was Mike.
That was Mike.
I already dropped one earlier, so it's fine.
Oh, I didn't even realize it. All right, so we've had our sociological lesson for the evening in our Wrestling Appreciation 101. Now it's time to get back to dick and fart jokes. Here is Tolbert's section, The High Spot.
And this man I'm about to talk about, he probably has some big farts.
Fart!
Little dick, big farts.
Because
All right, so let me
Is this the same podcast? Yes,
No,
it is.
no, 5
Yes, it
minutes
is,
ago.
ladies and gentlemen.
All
It's
right,
the same
so
podcast.
this week I assigned you Haystack Calhoun versus Buddy Rogers, 1961 in Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, yes. And I didn't realize until I pulled it up that this match was in 1961. All black and white. And in Haystack Calhoun is a big boy. That's the first thing you see when you pull up the link. You see the shot of the crowd. It's black and white. You see this death trap of a ring.
Oh,
God, it was terrible.
Jesus.
Made out of
extreme.
cardboard and
Yeah.
rubber bands.
Yeah, it's just, you look like if you just move wrong, you're going to get cut wide open and have to go get a tetanus shot.
Is that a
crazy.
tease? Is that a tease? for the end
No.
of the-
Well, no. Well, it could be.
Okay.
Anyway, so first thing you see is Haystack standing there, and he weighs in at 601 pounds. The announcer
I'm
says.
glad they gave him that 1
Yeah,
pound.
that 1 pound,
my
and he
Lord.
stands at 6'4". So he's a
The
big
thing
boy.
about that is a big human being. 6'4", 601.
So
Yes.
they call me Big Mike. I'm 6'4", 280 pounds.
And, yes, he's the
close,
big
close
This
to
guy
300.
is 600 fucking pounds.
That is a
it's
huge man.
Unreal. And
Yeah.
he doesn't move very well, as I'm sure.
Well,
very limited.
I'll get into that.
Very limited.
I'll get into his movements here in a second. So you see him, and he's wearing overalls. cut off overalls at that. Cut off right below the knee.
Well, he's got to have some kind of mobility,
And
right?
he's barefoot. Does not wear boots. Does not wear.
I did not notice
Yeah,
that.
he's barefoot. Yeah.
Wow.
If you also didn't notice, he has the little extenders where the buttons should go on the overalls to hold them shut. And
Dude, he is one layer away from just showing
Yeah,
his
can we-
junk to the audience.
To describe him, he looks like Chumlee from Pawn Stars. Like, literally to a T.
Did you guys ever play Super Punch-Out on SNES?
yes.
You did?
Yeah.
The character Bear Hugger
Oh yeah.
on Punch-Out
Yeah.
is based off of Haystack Calhoun.
Really?
Okay.
100%. That's my second video game reference of the night.
All right.
But Bear Hugger, you hit him in the stomach, doesn't affect him. You have to hit him in the face.
So match opens up. Haystack standing there. It takes a while for this match to get going. The audio's not too great. All you can really hear is the crowd and the commentator.
That commentator,
Yeah,
though.
was
Hilarious.
Russ Davis?
I don't know what his name, but he made me
introduces
laugh.
himself, but yeah, he starts in on Haystack immediately, and he's already in the ring, and he comments that you didn't see how he got there when the forklift truck lifted him up in the ring.
That is just throwing shade. Immediately throwing
He
shade.
said he couldn't get in the car to get to the thing.
Yes,
Right,
he also
yeah.
says Haystack doesn't travel by car because he can't fit in it. He has to come by trailer.
I can just see a man in like one of those like circus caravans. They have to put him in the gorilla cage because
Yeah.
this man is so big. He's got the bars on the
Yeah.
side.
It's just excess fat
Oh.
hanging over.
But he's a big boy, and he's definitely fat. But
Yeah.
you can tell he works out a little bit.
No, he doesn't.
don't
He
In
think-
looks-
1960, they don't work out. No, no.
I don't know.
His workout
I
was
don't know.
like walking
He
out to the
is
fucking
strong,
outhouse
though. He's strong.
at the farm.
But,
yeah, he was very strong.
In addition to his overalls, he wears a well chain around his neck
He does.
with a mule shoe.
What?
A mule shoe. That's
mule
what the
shoe.
commentator calls it.
But he
So-
also says it like this: with the mule
With
shoe.
a mule shoe. The commentary even had Katie, my fiance, which has really enjoyed all these wrestling
I'm
matches.
sure she
Oh my
hates
God.
me so much.
But the commentator had her cracking up in this one. So very funny stuff. Super old school. Everyone's it's 1961, Chicago, and the match is in Chicago. Everyone is got their big city suits on, smoking cigars. And it looks like they just got off of work, or it's the weekend and they're out in town and just happened to catch a wrestling sideshow or something. That's kind of the feel it has to it.
Yeah.
Because over the announcer, they announced the hockey game,
Yes.
the Chicago
I know about
Blackhawks score.
Well, the Blackhawks won tonight.
No, twice. They announced the live
Twice.
score twice.
Yeah,
4-3, then 5-3. Talk about cheap pops.
Yeah.
yeah.
Blackhawks winning in Chicago.
Yeah,
Against the Red Wings.
and the crowd's
Against the
going
Red
nuts, and he's announcing this over the match. So, anyway, so we finally get to the match. Buddy Rogers is the current champ for that region,
Yeah.
I guess.
So I think at that point he was actually the NWA champ.
Yes.
So he is the national champ.
Yeah, and he comes out to mixed boos and applause. Obviously, Haystack right off the bat is the crowd favorite. He's got
gotta
this
get behind
big
me.
baby face too. He just looks so kind and nice, like
Gentle giant.
Yeah, he just looks like a friendly kid that grew up on the dirt road down the street from you with a pituitary issue. Whatever. What's the gland that makes you big or whatever? Just watches ECW because. Anyway.
Thinking of pork chop issue.
Another
Thyroid issue.
Haystack has a pen or a paper and pencil in his corner. And he's writing.
He's a learned giant.
Why the commentator's going in on his size and all that. He's scribbling notes for some reason. Anyway, Buddy makes it to the ring. Has his manager with him. Haystack starts protesting immediately, saying, "Ain't no kin of mine in the ring." So once his manager out immediately, ring the bell, match starts. And right when the match is starting, the commentator says, "Well, this is a scuttle match."
I don't know what that means.
I
either.
didn't either, but obviously it's a scuttle match for him. So he proceeds to scuttle. They lock
Get to
up.
scuttling.
And the first, I'd say, 10 minutes of this match is nothing but headlocks.
Oh, it's so
Holds.
boring.
Yeah, it is so
So
long.
I have literally holds, Lots of holds.
Lots of
holds.
chokeholds.
So
that's a rear reverse check knock.
But which is surprising because Haystacks could barely hold Buddy Rogers' face. Like his arms are just
his
too
neck is
short.
so big.
He just like can't get him around. Anyway,
So Haystack gets Buddy Rogers in a headlock for about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
They struggle.
And I cannot believe Tolbert said, you can tell this guy really went to the gym. He works out. The guy sat on his ass for 7 minutes with his arm around another dude, and Tolbert thinks this guy works out.
He could not get one full arm around his head.
Well, all right, I'll get into the gym part later because this boy's strong. He may be big, but he's strong.
Yeah, he's strong.
He's strong.
Country
strong. So Rogers tries to get out of this headlock with a few, I guess, would you call them Irish whips?
I stopped paying attention.
Yeah, anyway.
And I was just listening to the commentator.
When Buddy would try to whip him, Haystack would just drag him along with him in the headlock. And he
ain't going nowhere he doesn't want to be going.
And so Buddy Rogers weighs in at 240. I think like 6'2", something like that.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. And Haystack's just throwing around like a rag doll. So this continues for another couple minutes. Buddy finally reverses the hold, puts Haystack in a hold for about another 3 minutes. And it's just funny. The commentary's funny. And you just see this big man just scuttling around. The holds finally come to an end. Buddy delivers a drop kick to the back of Haystack, which sends him into the turnbuckle. Haystack turns around. Buddy Rogers delivers another drop kick, which is supposed to send him out of the ring.
Right. This is my favorite.
Most wrestlers would just roll between the ropes, fall on the ground, and it would lead to another spot or a count out, what have you. Haystack is so big that he breaks the ropes. The rope just snaps, and he goes falling hard to the ground.
I knew this wouldn't happen, but I wanted it to happen. I wanted the screen to just shake when he hit the floor.
As soon as he hit the ground.
Dude, I almost shit my pants looking at the faces of these people.
There was shock.
The people in the front row where Haystack landed. Look at their faces.
Yeah,
faces.
I watched this about
Sheer
5
terror.
times because all right, so it's also 1961. There's only one camera angle, and that's straight on. You can't even tell if there's any crowd behind the camera on the other side. It looks
probably
like they
not.
all have the crowd on the back
These
side
are the
of
people
ring.
that couldn't afford the Blackhawks
Exactly.
ticket.
Yeah, exactly. So they're absolute shock and terror. The cops, like 5 cops run over and they're looking at them. And you can't see what's going on. You're just going off the commentator. But they start lifting up the curtain, to the ring. And they're like, it seems Haystack is rolled under the ring.
His fat ass is not getting out.
Yeah, so I don't know if he actually rolled under it just out of embarrassment or what. But then they go on to say that he has split his head open and he's bleeding like a stuck pig.
Yeah.
And everyone's still like gasping and looking on. They're trying to help him out, and they call a doctor to the ring, but they call him by his first name, I do believe. They're
I think they probably should have called a veterinarian for Haystack Calhoun.
Horse vet.
Y'all got any of them horse tranks? We're going to need it for Haystack.
But it was a short match, but, kind of stale. But I kind of expected that for 1961, especially it seemed like kind of a gimmick match because they say Buddy Rogers is champ and he has to wrestle everybody. I guess that's how they used to do it.
So they would and this happened into the 80s. You see Ric Flair doing this a lot. He kind of went around to all the promotions and he had to defend against some of the top guys out of each promotion. Ric Flair would go wrestle Kerry Von Erich in one night. Then he'd go fly back to Charlotte, wrestle Dusty Rhodes. It all depended. NWA was a conglomeration of all these wrestling promotions.
Yes. And it was all regional, right?
NWA was the the company that kind of like regulated all of the regional promotions.
Okay.
So there was one champ out of that.
And because I made a note here, it said it was Haystack's first appearance in Chicago.
Which, a lot of these guys kind of went all around the place. And it was a big attraction to have somebody
Well,
like
yeah,
Haystack Calhoun.
I'm sure there was posters all over, old school posters all over the street. Come see Haystack Calhoun.
Come see Haystack Calhoun as he takes on Buddy Rogers.
Well, the forklift can only go but so far.
That's a shit ton of gas.
But, a short match, but I don't know. It was cool to see an older match like that. You could tell. I mean, back in those days, these guys weren't getting paid anything, were they?
I mean, they were getting paid. I mean, like
Who got paid more, the wrestlers or the announcer?
I guarantee you the wrestlers.
Okay.
But I mean, because Haystack, you can't keep up that
diet.
that physique.
I can't believe I forgot this. I can't believe I forgot this.
Please talk about this.
So one of the first
God, I
words
forgot
the
about it.
commentator even mentions.
Breakfast.
It's like, Haystack Calhoun, that's a big boy. It takes 12 eggs, a half pound of butter, and a loaf of bread just to feed him for breakfast.
Well, and then later on, he ponders if he has a cholesterol problem. Yeah. In 1961, he's like, I wonder if he has a cholesterol problem. And you're like,
Yes,
he
does.
There's no wondering.
He definitely has a
Doesn't
cholesterol
exist.
problem.
They didn't have Lipitor back in 1961.
They did not.
Who knows? But I was intrigued by Haystack. So I Googled him. I looked up some more YouTube videos. And he wrestled for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. Traveled all over. There's this one particular picture where he's feeding. He's in his overalls, barefoot. He's feeding a baby calf. But he's not just holding the bottle. He's actually holding the calf and feeding the calf with the bottle. Oh my God. Yeah. There's also pictures of him standing beside a car, acting like he's going to get in it, and there is no way this man is going to fit in a car.
When I was in high school, I thought I was a cool kid and had I made a collage to put on my binder of just weird pictures and stuff that I found. And I found this book in the library, and it was a book on professional wrestling from the 1960s. And I had a picture of Haystack Calhoun holding up 2 bales of hay. There's this famous picture of him holding these 2 humongous bales of hay over his head.
And that's why I said he has to work out, maybe, or maybe just
he just picks up hay.
Born with this big strength, you know what I mean? And you could tell he was probably eating that breakfast when he was 12 years old. You know? But a very interesting wrestler. Definitely look him up, especially if you're into
fat guys.
history.
If you're
or cut off overalls.
I was gonna say just
if you're into
wrestling
big
history.
beautiful wrestlers, BBW.
I don't think that means what you think it means.
Don't look up BBW. Please don't.
Another really funny picture, though. I guess he did hold a title at one point.
I'm sure he did. I don't know if he held the NWA, but he held regional.
He would
promotion.
just strap the belt around the front of his overalls.
The one titty. The one titty.
No, he would just strap it around the front of his overalls.
Oh, you had to.
He'd just run it through, which was hilarious. But good.
Oh, so here we go. At the end of your thing, we started it last week, folks. This is maybe my favorite part of $2 Steak. It's the haiku, the HIGHKU. Last week, your computer or your phone died before you were able to give us the haiku. Tolbert, is your phone fully charged?
I am fully charged, and I'm not as high as I was last week.
Because it took an hour for me to figure out what was wrong with this microphone and to start episode 2.
Me and Cookie just hit the pin the whole time.
Last week was a little bit different. All right, Tolbert.
Excuse me, guys. I got a little congestion. The pollen's thicker than a Papa Shango nightmare out there.
That's the worst. Go home. Go home. That's it. That's it for episode 2.
All right. My haiku for this week. Here comes Big Haystack. I bet we'd share a snack. Then he'd snap my back.
Drop the mic.
You can check those syllables.
Oh, I don't need to check
counted.
those. I don't need to check those. Thank you. Any closing remarks for episode 2? I think that we've kind of got our format down. I think. Let me tell you, we did it last week to give you a little bit of a tease to what we have coming up on $2 Steak.
What is coming up?
Now, Cookie, I've kind of stepped away from giving you a Japanese match. I'm giving you a British match coming up for episode 3. You have Vic Faulkner versus Mick McMichael. Have fun with that one.
Who? Okay.
Exactly. Greenhorn Mike, you are going to have a WCW match. You have got Rey Mysterio versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Ooh.
Okay.
And Tolbert, you have got my favorite match of the evening. The Original Sheik against Terry Funk.
All right. So Aaron's a big Terry Funk
I am
fan.
the biggest Terry Funk forever.
Terry Funk Week will be happening.
Forever.
Terry Funk Week will eventually happen.
Bloodbath in that
Thank
match.
you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time on $2 Steak.